It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Today we got a beer from the Virgin Wines Beer Advent Calendar for Christmas 2024. We've done beer number one. It was a beer called Jiddler's Tipple, and it was really nice. Really juicy, really drinkable, just good, solid. It was called Everyday Pale Ale, and it certainly was that. It was an everyday pale ale. And if you want to have a look at beer number one, have a look at the review. It'll be on YouTube by now because we're going to do beer number two. Beer number two, there it is, right there. We're going to be taking the polar bear's ear off. That was a fight. What's happened, unfortunately, I'm not sure if you can see, is it looks like we've had a little bit of a collapse. The doors are not quite lining up with the inserts, and you're having to drag the can out, but all part of the fun, I suppose, isn't it? This is by the Horns Brewing Company, West End Pils. This is a lager, 4% ABV, described as crisp and balanced. I've not had a By the Horns beer for a while. Perhaps, maybe not since we did the last Virgin Wines Advent Calendar 2 years ago. But anyway, let's get the beer out into a glass and see what we get. These guys are based in Salfords in Surrey, in the UK, by the Horns Brewing Company. I believe, and I'm sure I've talked about this as well before, I believe there used to be a London brewery. I'm pretty sure they started out life as a London brewery by the Horns. So here is the beer then, One Finger Whitehead, good levels of carbonation. In my Camden Town Brewery glass, yeah, Pilsner. Love a Pilsner. 4% ABV. West End Pils. How do I feel about the 4%? We'll talk about the 4% ABV in a moment. Let's get the, yeah, it's clear. It looks very nice, good carbonation. There's no widget on the bottom of this glass. Straw amber coloured beer, light amber coloured beer. Let's get the aroma. Wow. Spicy and dry, with a little bit of sweetness. But I want to talk about Pilsen and 4% ABV because I think it's a little low. If I'm standing here being perfectly honest, I think Pilsner at 4% ABV is a little bit low, to be honest with you. Pilsner for me, if you think of a Pilsner, you're thinking of a beer that has a strong bitter finish on it, and it's got that kind of reassuring around 5% ABV. If you're buying a Pilsner in Germany, if you're going to Germany, I've been to Hamburg, I've been to Frankfurt in Germany, you're not going to find a Pilsner under 5% ABV, at least around that 5% ABV mark. You're going to struggle. You're not going to really find a 4% ABV Pilsner in Germany. We're in a situation in this country, in the UK, where everything seems to be whacked 20% here, 20% there. I can't talk too much about it. I just get, well, I'll just say the word once. We get taxed quite highly here in the UK. And there's a new tier, there's a scaling of tax, I've said it again, when it comes to beer. And the lower the ABV, the less you pay. The more of an ABV, there's a penalty behind it, and you're paying more money. As a brewery and as a consumer of beer, you're paying more money. So as a result of that, you're seeing more and more breweries now producing beers at lower and lower ABVs. And I just think it's a sad state. It's a sad state of affairs, really, which, you know, we in this industry have always felt attacked. Yes, there are people out there that will probably drink a little bit more than they probably should. I walk past one every day when I go for my walk, and you know, I generally feel sorry for the man. That's I live in a town of about 40,000 people, and I just see the one man. You know, it's just not like it doesn't seem to be like a rip-roaring problem. You know, you might see it covered in the news, you might see it covered everywhere else, you might see this agenda being pushed, but for most people it's not a problem. For most people can kind of make their own decisions in life and make, you know, generally the largest part of the population will make the right decision. You know, they won't, you know, you're probably shaking some of you might be shaking your head and thinking, what was this guy like? But it's all to do with, By the Horns Brewery probably wanted to produce a 5% ABV Pilsner, but for reasons that I've just mentioned, they've had to make it a 4%. Let's dive in. Cheers, everybody. It's not very good. I kind of, if you rewind back to my initial getting my nose into the beer, it's not a very good Pilsner, to be honest with you. There's a little bit of malt and grain on the finish. I should be getting a lot of bitterness on the finish. It's a bit sulphury, it's a bit tinny, it's a bit metallic. There's a little bit of rotting vegetables coming through as well in terms of flavour. Something's not quite right with this beer. It's quite acidic. It's quite acidic to go with that astringency, that metallic flavour. It's quite acidic as well. I've had plenty of beer in the past by the Horns Brewing Company. They've been very good. They've been very good. An unfiltered Czech style Pilsner brewed with a fusion of tradition and new world ingredients, brewed with British extra pale malt and a combination of Czech Saaz hops, British Fuggles hops, a classy and refreshing lager, offering a perfect balance of light bready malt with fresh, clean hop notes. I'm sorry, that's not a clean beer. That's not a clean beer. It might be a batch issue. It might be a batch issue with this beer. The date is 10/25, so it's a relatively fresh beer. That's not good. That's not good. I won't be finishing that beer. The first beer from the advent calendar was very good. This one's quite poor. It's a 3 out of 10. 3 out of 10 from Real Ale Craft Beer. Please put your comments in the comments box, subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews, give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom, cheers.